What up, everybody? It's Terminal doing a quick little patch note rundown. It's not a massive patch. We have a big content patch coming up soon, a big item patch coming up soon, according to Yoshi. We'll see how those go. But I do think there's some meaningful changes in here, things that are going to impact the game for maybe long term if they aren't corrected, but we'll see. Starting off first, Bucket 3 heroes are now a little bit slower on their dashes. I don't think this is going to change too many situations. I think that most of the time when you're using the dash speed, you're getting value out of it, whether or not it is in zero point 0.7 seconds or 0.72 seconds, you know? Secondly, orb spawners that give souls in the base now passively give them when they expire. This is going to give you like a few extra souls when you're in base and you're not shooting them because you're in shop or whatever. It's a nice quality of life. Audio sliders for teammates, it's cool. Crushing Fists is buffed. It's now 6% more shred at max stacks, slightly longer stun duration. I already think that Crushing Fist was pretty good. I think that melee charge as a mobility item is underrated, and Crushing Fist's shred utility on objectives is insane. Uh, so this might push it over the edge into like actually OP, but we'll see where it goes. It's probably still going to be underbought. Not many people value the objective killing power, and I think that's wrong. Cursed Relic change. So this seems to be targeted at Haze, but I think this is a buff to everybody, including Haze. Pretty much, they moved the damage output reduction from being permanent to now it is only applied when you press the curse for the duration of the curse. It is stronger now. It's now 25% and 14 instead of 14%. But what this means is that when you're pressing curse, or rather when you don't press curse, you're just better. And when you're pressing curse, you're pressing it to like remove a big buff from Victor or somebody, and it's going to be getting the value. I strictly see this as a buff. I think that we might start seeing like 4+ curses on teams, depending, especially in longer games. This downside is just not that bad compared to the upside of what curse is. Curse is a crazy item. I don't think this is like the correct solution. I hope that they find a more elegant answer to this item. Moving on, Kevlar. Kevlar is already good. It is now 5 more spirit. This doesn't push it into being good. Like the heroes that want this item want it because you're getting 1,000 shield when you press the button. Yamato, who has 60-60 resists and is pressing Kevlar, is going to be multiplying that value by a substantial amount. Or, for example, Mina, where when you're buying Kevlar, you have like 2,200 health, and now Kevlar is a 50% health increase. Uh, there's a lot of factors at play that make Kevlar good, and I don't think that it's gonna make or break it with 5 spirit, but it's nice to see. I think this item's underbought. Echo Shard. It's sad to see that they're bringing the cast time back. I don't think that this is targeted at Haze directly, but it could be. I think that this is just like, oh, there are situations like Mirage that are abusing it, or maybe McGinnis with wall spams, because the cast time is problematic for Mirage, and the cooldown thing is more problematic to people like McGinnis. But this is also hitting uh, builds such as Double Bomb Paradox, and this cast time means that your assassin potential on Double Bomb is like dead. This means that they will be able to escape. Feels really bad. I hope that they remove this cast time again. What I want to see for Echo Shard is I want to see diminishing returns on subsequent CC usage, or just have a coefficient that you can scale per ability and have Echo Shard just recast the ability when you press it. But uh, I really don't like this cast time change. E shift getting 2 seconds added to its cooldown. This changes nothing. This item is really good. When you're pressing this button and it's getting value, this 2-second difference isn't make or break anything. I have clips from like before Victor released and started to abuse it of playing Spirit Abrams and abusing E shift. It was on like a 14-second cooldown. Going from 35 to 37 it's still nowhere near the difference going from 14 to 35 that we were at. Still a great item. Frenzy getting 10 bullet lifesteal as an innate is weird. I don't think that Frenzy is bad, but I think it is overly situational, and getting value out of it consistently is difficult. I don't think that 10 bullet lifesteal pushes it over. However, this does make me consider it more. 10 bullet lifesteal isn't nothing. Like this is a relevant amount of effective health. I think that I might try Frenzy more, and we'll see how it goes. But I think that in a lot of situations, like spending 6.4k on an item in that category, you're just going to want other options. But we'll see. Fury Trance now getting move speed while active and removing the move speed penalty like Fleetfoot has. This is not going to replace Fleetfoot. This supplements Fleetfoot. Frankly, I think that unless you have near 100% uptime with, say, Surge of Power or this, then you just simply cannot replace Fleet. Having it active at all times, regardless of anything, is too strong. But having that extra move speed means that sliding during this is going to be better. So it does supplement Fleet, which you'll probably be activating, and then you have the slide distance, and et cetera, et cetera. Quality of life change on Life Strike, so that when you're meleeing two things at once, it prioritizes the higher health. Mystic Shot is getting its cooldown reverted and its spirit scaling nerfed. The spirit scaling got over buffed. I was genuinely really surprised seeing this. The DPS is going to be like down a little bit overall, which is fine. Mystic Shot was OP. I don't think it's great to rush, but people will rush it anyways, so this doesn't really change anything rushing it. I do like the cooldown now lines up with Express Shot again. The characters that were getting both and it being off by 1 second felt really awkward. Resto Shot got buffed. Something to note is that the way the boons are distributed now at 25k, you are approximately, what is this? Like, we're running like 75% of the way there to max boons, something like that. So it's ramping up very quickly, is what I'm trying to say, and as it approaches fill build, it slows down greatly. And what this means is that in the early to mid game, you're going to be healing like a pretty substantial amount more. It's going to be going from like 80 to like 120, and then approaching 150 later on. But this is only at max stacks. I don't feel like doing the math on each one in between. Just assume if you're at half stacks, it's half the value. Simple as that. I don't think Resto Locket is weak. I think that it can be bought, but the issue is that heal cut is incredibly prominent, and I think that consuming an active slot on some heroes is problematic. But I think that this buff is pretty ridiculous. I think it's up to like 800 healing or something like that. And it's at 1600. That's more health than you're getting from Colossus, excluding the resistance stuff. That's comparable to Kevlar. So maybe this comes back into the meta. Scourge. I've been saying Scourge is better on if you're using it not selfishly. So many heroes buy it selfishly. This further pushes it into being a less selfish item. The damage is reduced further. I'm not doing the math on the breakpoint, but it's higher than it was last time. And I say that it's also above here because I think that being able to put this on your ally, giving them debuff resist, is just a lot of value. Especially since it's retroactive. I genuinely think that this item is just better on the supports like Calvin or Vin, like the heroes that I think should have been buying it anyways. Slowing bullets was like the de facto, like, hey, this is an amazing item in the gun slot. I think it should have been nerfed. I think that removing the weapon damage might be a little bit much. Weighted shots technically is better to upgrade because instead of a 25%, it's now giving you 30% weapon damage. I think that they did this specifically because they deemed weighted shots OP, not that they deemed slowing bullets OP, and they wanted to just keep the defensive and downsides and everything of weighted shots the same. I frankly think that slowing bullets should be like 8% weapon damage or something at least. Going to 0 just feels bad. And they could just keep weighted at 30 and it'll be fine. Overflow is slightly nerfed on some builds, such as my M1 Yamato, and I think it is buffed on others because it has 10% Spirit Lifesteal when it procs, but slight decreases to ability duration and fire rate. Realistically, 10% lifesteal is worth more than 2% ability duration and 2% fire rate. So this should just be a buff, but it is a slight nerf. Spirit Burn. This is interesting because a lot of people are going to read this as a strict nerf, but I think that on the heroes that can utilize this like well, having a per hero cooldown instead of it just proccing once in an AoE is going to be more valuable, specifically because it can't be wasted. You know, if you say shoot a GT arrow at Vin and she's out of range of everybody, and you proc that Spirit Burn, and then Abrams jumps on your ass and you don't have Spirit Burn to heal cut him, that kind of feels bad. Now you don't have that problem. Realistically, I think that Spirit Burn is probably going to be slightly worse because accidentally hitting everybody was a ton of value. But I think for its use case, being a big heal cut item, it's fine. This damage nerf is relevant, but like I said, it's a huge heal cut item, and now you can be a lot more intentional with the use. I think it's still good. Suppressor, one of the best items in the game probably for its cost, and reducing its duration by half a second doesn't really change that. Tank Buster no longer proccing off of items. This is interesting because it is a nerf because of the whole Spear Burn interaction and whatever else in the future, or just, some heroes have a harder time proccing things, so being able to hit it with Cold Front is a lot easier. Like somebody like Calico, for example. However, this also means that somebody like Mo is going to be able to get other items without worrying about Tank Buster consuming or being consumed before they compress it with Scorn. So I don't think this is a strict nerf. I think this is probably a good change to avoid outlier situations if Tank Buster persists the way that it does. Even though, as of right now, it is strictly to remove the Mystic Shot, Spirit Burn stuff. Moving on to heroes. Apollo's stun is substantially shorter at tier 3. They completely remove the stun duration increase. However, he now gets 60% bullet, spirit, and melee lifesteal against the target. He's pretty much getting Infuser and Vamp Burst. I think that they've given Apollo a lot of healing. I think that the stun was broken. A targeted stun on such a low cooldown for that long is OP. It simply is. It couldn't persist. I made probably like 2 forum posts talking about how buffing the 2 is a mistake. I assume they realized it at some point. I still think that giving 60% Omnivamp effectively is going to be OP. Imagine you hit 2 on somebody, then you ult them, and now you just did like 1,500 damage. If you're healing for 60% of that, you're healing for 900. Like, that's a pretty massive heal. Obviously, there's heal cut and all these other things, but this is going to be, I would assume, power neutral on his win rate, but realistically, it's a nerf in like the best tier of Apollo play because the targeted stun is just that broken. Billy's 2 is getting nerfed again. Like, yeah, it's broken, but the problem is if they keep doing this stuff, like they're nerfing the part of Billy's kit that they added so he could deal with tanks, because he doesn't really have many tools to do so. He doesn't have the best sustain. The percent max health was a great tool to do that. If they keep doing this, I don't know how viable Billy will be. Like, does Billy need nerfs? Yes. Does Billy need to consistently have all of his damage siphoned? Probably not. There's other tools that they can use to nerf Billy. I'm not entirely sure why it's always just like, oh, he needs to do less damage, he needs to do less damage. Uh, I think that previous changes to Billy were probably justified, and this even by itself is justified. I just worry that this isn't going to be enough, and he's going to get more and more, and eventually it's going to cross the threshold, and Billy just can't kill anybody. Calico is decently strong, and she's getting some minor nerfs. Uh, these won't be useless, but they're also not massive. They're buffing Celeste ult again. I think Celeste is already OP. I think that her 2 AP 3 start in lane is an incredible amount of power that is going underused. I think that the transition into the more mage-like builds, instead of having to rely on Light Eater and your M1 and being in a risky situation, uh, has already been good. And now they're buffing it again. The linger duration increases, the damage increases, the radius increases. This build, or rather, this ability is going to do a lot of damage. Especially like when you have your 3 fully stacked. I think it's a 0.9 spirit ratio, decent base damage, with 66% amp on that, hitting 18 times. We're what, in like the 20s or 30s of spirit ratio? It's crazy. Uh, Probably just play Mage Celeste and win games. Doorman changes are interesting because they just keep nerfing this guy, and they just keep nerfing his early game. His gun is effectively the same at max boons. It does a bit less damage early. Same thing as it did last time. They just did it again. The call bells are going to come out shorter, or come out longer. Doorway duration is reduced at first, and now he's a bit more AP hungry. Same thing with luggage cart. They shifted numbers around to make him more AP hungry. But something I learned, I haven't tested this myself, I've just been told, is that they fixed how range works on door. I assume what that means is that the spirit scaling on range now gets increased by the percentage of, range percentages. So the door is actually pretty big now, because they fixed the interaction. I don't know the difference. I hadn't tested it myself. I wasn't like a super avid doorman player, so I couldn't like go in and just eyeball it. But people are saying it's a buff. So, if you get carded from mid boss into fountain, well, that's why. Drifter is getting a bit of damage taken out of Rend, and the silence reduced a little bit. I don't think that Spirit Drifter was that OP. I think that Spirit Drifter was frustrating to play against, uh, and that led to people thinking that it was more OP. Was it good? Yes, it was definitely good. But I don't think that Rend was particularly egregious, and I don't think that these changes are also going to make it any less viable. So much power in Drifter is in his 2, it's in his alt. The Rend is just like how he, stays in the game. And 0.1 spirit ratio is not going to stop him from doing that. Dynamo is a slight cooldown buff. Realistically, dynamos are going to sit on their cooldown for longer than 15 seconds. It's just one of those things where you really look for like the best possible ult. There are times where this will matter, like obviously, but a lot of the time he's just going to be sitting on this, and this isn't going to make too much of a difference. Haze got some interesting changes. So the sleep wake time scaling is reduced. Spirit dagger scaling is reduced. They shifted sleep duration and the cooldown between the tier 2 and the tier 3. They reduced fixations tier 3 flat amount and gave it weapon scaling. It breaks even at 100 and is buffed after. I have a calculator set up now, and check out the Haze numbers and everything. Pretty much weapon damage on Haze is better than it was before. However, fire rate is still a lot better. Lucky shot is still going to be better when you count ults and stuff. Shred is going to be better. APR is going to be better because of plated. This just means that weapon damage doesn't feel as bad. I would say that they can't really buff this. If they buffed this, then it would probably push it into its actually good territory. So I think this is fine. But to note on the sleep dagger thing, it was really egregious that you could not counter by it. There was no amount of debuff reduction. There was no amount, you couldn't just debuff or move it or whatever. you'd have to counterspell it instantly, or like indom and then counterspell, and uh, it's just like a really weird and awkward ways to deal with the double dagger build. And I'm surprised that uh, they nerfed the damage, because I don't think the damage was as much of an issue as the sleep wake time. But if they wanted to make sure that people are feeling weaker, then that is a way to do it. Uh, to finish my point on Haze, I think that she's effectively the same hero, but the double dagger build, which was problematic, is now nerfed. Ivy stone form field scaling really reduced. I don't think that the damage of Ivy stone form matters enough that this point 2 matters. I think that Ivy has a ton of utility. Her 2 is broken. Like the fact that you're CCing everybody and doing all this stuff, that the damage is relevant, but her utility is really what makes her insane. Having a 4-second silence on all if you have duration and stuff, it's ridiculous. So will you feel this on some kills? Probably. But Ivy is still going to be strong. Kelvin, small cooldown nerf, same thing as Dynamo up here. A lot of the times you're going to be sitting on it for a bit. Lady Geist, her life drain DPS is reduced by 25%, but now you're healing for 100% of it, and they shifted the 1% of Malance Amp from base to the 3 AP. So they're nerfing her early game. Life drain especially is like heavily geared towards the early game. She's going to be easier to trade with and stuff. She's still going to be healing a lot, but she's going to be hurting you less. I still think that Bombgeist should get buffed. Not because I want to see Bombgeist, but I think that it's what people want to play. It's what a lot of players like Lorelo and stuff do. It's what they go towards. It's the mage. And the fact that it is so bad that I see it on my team and I feel like I instantly lose means that it should probably get a little bit of a buff. It's just what the people want. And if they're going to be nerfing other stuff like this, I don't see why they can't buff the bomb. It doesn't have to be OP, just like give it a little bit of love. These Mina buffs are like weird. Like I don't know. I think that somebody on the team just like really likes flying around with Mina, and that's great, and that's cool. I don't see this as a super relevant change. Does it mean that Mina is going to escape more? Yeah. Uh, but most of the time with 3 bats, Mina was escaping anyways. So kinda placebo buff probably. I do like the recast time. It did feel a little bit short, but moving on. Mirage, they finally nerfed his scarabs in lane. I really like this change. However, I think that they already targeted his late game a little bit too much potentially to also be now targeting his early game, because he already didn't scale great. Uh, the fact that they even removed the lift duration here, they nerfed Echo Shard. I don't think that Mirage is going to be in that great of a spot. He's still going to be annoying to lane against, but he's really not going to scale well. And they probably are going to have to give him back some late power to compensate for these things. I could be wrong, but that's just the vibe I get. Mo and Krill got some interesting changes. He can finally actually go into the tunnels and farm the tunnels now, because burrow cooldown starts on press instead of when you're leaving. That's great. It also means that with duration and cooldown, you're getting almost 100% uptime on it. Obviously, you can get CC'd out and stuff, but this is a pretty notable Mo and Krill buff. Also, combo letting you cast items while using it. Huge buff for Alkfire. Alkfire is an amazing damage item, but it was really awkward to use with Mo, especially once they made it so that you maintain momentum. However, with this, now you can ult and press it and farm damage. Not only that, but you can do stuff like you can go into Veil Walker, Warp Stone onto somebody, instantly Majestic Leap, as long as they don't have Torment Pulse, and kidnap somebody. I think that you're going to be seeing that a lot. I think Badge Leap is criminally underbought, and this use case might actually get it nerfed if people get good enough at it. I don't think Mo's running into the enemy team and grabbing out Wraith and dragging her back. I think it's Seven's on the side lane, and now Mo and Krill's running at him at Mach 10 and drags him out of position with Mage Leap after an ult. You could kind of do it before if you leapt and then grabbed, but that's just way less consistent. So I think that we're probably going to see most switch into Match Leap eventually. For some reason, people pretend like it's a bad item. Once people stop pretending it's a bad item, we'll see it. Another buff to Page Ult, like short cooldown change. Cooldown's already really long. I think that when you're pressing it, it's with intention. It's sitting off cooldown, blah, blah, blah. I've said this a million times. This matters, but a lot of times it doesn't matter. Affliction just keeps getting nerfed. Like, I don't know. At some point, I feel like they should just give it, like, super low damage and let it proc items and just be, like, the debuff button. Because it's very clear that Affliction is going to be an ability that is, like, existing throughout the game because it's cool and it's powerful, and that's good. But Pocket's kit is pretty strong. He has 40% amp. A lot of these things are just amplifying how problematic Affliction is. So I don't know if I even care if Affliction does damage. If they shift it and just being a debuff thing, I think that's probably better. I wouldn't say it's healthier, but it's like thematic. And they just keep nerfing the damage. So like just rip off the band-aid, right? At least try it. Cooldown change, -1 second. People say this is going to do nothing. This probably does do something. Like, I'm not going to say it's game-changing, but this is probably relevant in at least like 1 or 2 deaths per game on Pocket. The Shiv mobility nerfs, I think that Shiv's movement, yeah, even though they nerfed it a bunch, still was probably a bit too strong. I don't think this killing blow change is that crazy. Most of the time, you're probably recasting it within 20 seconds. But also, Deadlock fights kind of extend for a while, so maybe this is relevant more often than I thought. Fall off range on Silver nerf. They also increased the time it takes to transform. Precast move speed reduced from 7.6 to 2.5, and resist reduced from 20 to 15 at the T1. Pretty big nerfs. I think fall off range especially is really big. Obviously, the 5% resist is big, and these matter, but they matter less than the other changes. And to compensate, she gets 100% bonus damage against NPCs. Woohoo! Specifically with her 1. I think that this is cool quality of life, but it doesn't change the fact that these nerfs are substantially bigger than this buff. Venator got weird changes where I don't think that Venator is particularly OP. I think that his 1 healing reduction and his 3's his ult's knockback rather is problematic, and those are increasing frustration and the burst damage and blah blah blah. I don't think he's actually that strong. They reduced his sprint speed a bit, and he's already a fat hero, so like I don't know why. You can like compensate for this with something like Swift Striker. Probably should have been buying it already. Fleet Foot, Enduring Speed. There's items. Majestic Leap. Should probably be buying these things on Venator already. This doesn't impact combat. You're just going to be slower on the map a bit. And I don't know. I don't understand this change. Bullet range fall off is reduced. He's going to be fighting within this 18-meter range a lot of the time. But in those situations where he isn't in this is going to matter a little bit. I don't think that this is going to kill the hero, but you will notice this in lane more than most fights probably. An interesting buff, though, is that the cooldown now starts when you press it, kind of like the mode change, and they increase the blessed stake damage by 15. So you're going to be ulting more, and the ult are going to do a little bit more damage at the cost of fall off range and sprint speed, which I don't think are going to change most of your interactions. However, I stated at the start that I think that the ult is really egregious with its CC, and having it up more is just better. So he might have a win rate increase off of this. I don't know. Viscous got his splatter nerfed again. Mainly if you hit it like twice or once, it's going to be nerfed in early game. But they added a bounce early game and removed one of the bounces from the tier 3. So now you can bounce it 3 times. You're going to be hitting things more consistently, but it's going to be doing less damage. They nerfed the cube cooldown by 5 seconds, which is probably good because it was getting spammed a lot. It's a really powerful spell, probably one of the best spells in the game, and nerfing it was justified. And interesting change here is that Puddle Punch is now down to like a 4 point something second cooldown with rapid and cooldown. It's a little bit crazy. I think that that might be a little bit too much. I know that you can rebuttal it and all this stuff, but when you're spamming them in team fights, it's gonna get really hectic. Uh, and this goo ball change, the 10% resist to 20% resists, I don't think that resists on goo ball matter. I think he needs an actual damage reduction stat. I think shred is super prevalent. I think when you're getting gunned down, it's impossible to miss the goo ball. Like there's other changes that you can implement. Maybe like give him healing in ball, like he hits somebody and he heals. There needs to be ways that Viscous can stay in the fight as goo ball and not just get blown up instantly. Reduce damage from AOE's. I don't know. Uh, you mainly use this to run away because you just die so quickly. Uh, Frankly speaking, I think that they should remove some of the CC duration and make him tankier in it. But I know a lot of people really like the CC duration, being able to dribble and stuff. I think that that mechanic is problematic long term, but we'll see where they go with this. And lastly, Yamato, or flying slash spirit power on tier 2 down from 40 to 35, and she gets one less charge and a bit of charge time increase on it. Going from 40 to 35 spirit at tier 2 matters more because you're getting it super early than, say, the 5 increase on Kevlar later. This is relevant. However, getting 35 spirit that early is still really strong. Yamato is still going to be strong. Uh, Also, having charges on the 2, even if it's one less, uh, is really good because when you ult, you get them refreshed. She's going to be a lot less sticky, but she's still going to be really damn sticky. I think that they should drop the charges down to just one charge like Venator has and force you to actually invest in the charges. And then maybe I would also maybe change the flat spirit power to percent spirit power because I genuinely think that having this much early is just going to be problematic forever and you'll abuse items or whatnot. Uh, but she's still going to be strong, especially the M1 build. This like nerfs the early game a bit for my build, but if you go say Wander's build where he's actually just doing like pure gun, uh, you're just like untouched by these changes. So I personally think that M1 Yamato is stronger than Spirit because of the scaling. So she's still strong. Anyways, thanks for watching. Not a massive patch. I dread having to talk when the massive patches do come, but I'm also excited. So thanks for watching.